Hey everyone, so today's lesson is on writing rules for linear functions. So you're going to need your notebook and a pencil. So why are we learning this? Well, a business owner can calculate the cost of a toll-free call if they can write out the rule as a function. So if we wanted to write out a function rule to represent the monthly cost of our cell phone bill, or how much it would cost if we were buying an item and we were buying large quantities and they charged just a shipping fee. So just like we translate equations into words, we can translate functions into words. So it says a toll-free telephone number is $2.95 per month plus 10 cents per minute. So what's a function rule to represent the monthly cost? So we're just going to look at 1 month. So we're going to assume it's just a $2.95 for that one-time fee. So first we need to define our variables. So we know that we're going to be trying to figure out the total cost. We don't know how many minutes our phone call is, so M is going to represent the number of minutes. And it's very important that you define your variable so that we know what the function means. So now $2.95 for 1 month. We're getting a total, so we know we're going to add. And it's 10 cents per minute, and we don't know how many minutes. And that's going to represent our total cost. We want to make sure, since it's money, it's 10 cents, not 10. So let's look at the next one. It says an orchestra buys music stands for $42 each with $298 in its bank account. Write a function rule that shows how the account balance depends on the number of stands bought. Well, if I'm starting with money in my account, that means that's going to be my starting value. That's what I'm going to start with. I'm buying something. So I'm not adding money to my account. I'm taking away money from my account. And the stands are $42 each. I don't know how many stands the orchestra is going to buy, so I'm going to use S to represent stand. And this equals what's left in my bank account. So you could use A for account, B for your account, for bank account, whichever you choose. Then I need to make sure I write S equals the number of stands and B equals the bank account. So now the next part says, what is the initial value? What did we start with? Well, we started with $298 in the account. So that's our initial value. The rate of change, what's changing every time? Well, it's a negative 42. We're taking out $42 for every stand that we buy. So go ahead and read this one on your own, and then we'll compare once you finish. So you should have gotten that it's $15 is a one-time fee for the month plus 25 cents per hour equals our total cost, and I define my variables. Go ahead and try one more on your own, and this is two-part because then it wants to know the initial and rate of change. You should have got $4.95 plus 10 cents times M equals B, or whatever variables you use are fine. M represents the number of minutes. B equals our total bill. The initial value is $4.95, and the rate of change was 10 cents. Go ahead and try one more on your own. So this one also had two parts. So for your equation, you should have 60 plus $75 per hour. H is the number of hours, C is the total cost. Then it says, what is the output for an input value of 4? So saying we're going to work 4 hours. So I plugged in 4, I solved, and I had got $360. So for 4 hours, it would cost $360. This one's the same thing. I want you to first write a function rule and then plug in 15 into your function rule. So for this one, you should see 65 plus 2b equals C. V is the number of visits, C is the total cost. Plug in 15 if we were to go there 15 times, and it would cost us $90. So writing a rule from the table. So this is kind of like what we've already done. We've been looking at our rate of change. We've been looking at our change in Y over our change in X. So I want to know, how did 10 become 7? 7 become 4, 4 become 1, 1 become negative 2. So I should see that every time I am subtracting 3. How did 0 become 2, 2 become 4, 4 become 6, 6 become 8? We're adding 2 every time. So I would put negative 3 over 2. So my rate of change is negative 3 over 2. That's going to be my slope. What goes in front of my input, my X. So how I would write this out? I'm going to put Y equals. I'm going to put my rate of change, negative 3 over 2, X. And now how do I find what the B is, what the initial value is? So in order to figure out what B is, I go back and look at my table, and I want to look for when X is 0. So right here, X is 0. So when X is 0, meaning we don't have any days, it was at 10. So our initial value was at 10. So now when it asked what the rate of change is, negative 3 over 2, what's our initial value? 10. So let's look at this one. First thing I have to do is find what the change in Y over the change in X is. So what am I doing every time? I'm adding 2. What am I doing every time here? I'm adding 1. So I'm going to have 2 over 1. So this is my rate of change, my slope. So I know I'm going to have a function rule that looks like this. I'm going to have a Y equals, we know what our rate of change is, 2 over 1, or you can just put 2, and then my X. Well, now what goes here? What is my y-intercept, my initial value? I go back to my table. I look for when X is 0. X then is 0. Y is 8. It's a positive 8. So I put plus 8. So this would be my function rule. Go ahead and try this one on your own. So you should have found what the change in Y over the change in X is. Get 2 over 1, because I'm adding 2, I'm adding 1. So I have my 2, which goes in front of my X, because that's my rate of change. Then in order to figure out how I got the plus 8, I went back, looked for when X is 0, and it's a positive 8. Go ahead and try another on your own. So you should see that the rate of change here is I'm subtracting 3 every time. Over here in the X, I'm adding 1, so it's always Y over X. This is my rate of change. It always goes in front of my X. So I have negative 3. I come back and look for when X is 0. Y is 512. Try one more on your own. So you should have gotten that you're adding 92 every time. You're adding 1 every time. So I have 92 over 1. So I have 92x plus my 1,127, because when X is 0, I have 1,127. Now let's say if this number was a negative, I'm dealing with negative. If our initial value is a negative, then we would just have 92x and then a minus 1,127. But since it's positive, that's why we just have a plus sign. So that's it for today's lesson. So now you're going to go ahead and practice some of these on your own. So make sure if you don't understand something or you forgot to write something down, you go back and write it.